Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby, and welcome to my strange little YouTube channel. Now, before I get into this video, I do want to apologize because this video is a little bit shorter than my usual videos, but it's a very sad case, and I wanted to do this video nonetheless. I wanted to get his story out there because even though his identity is solved, this case is still open and his murderer is still out there. So with that being said, let's just get into the video. Today we are talking about the identification of Tooele County John Doe. On June 10th, 1976, the body of a young man was found in a water treatment facility outside of Wendover, Utah. The victim was estimated to be between 17 to 22 years old, about 6 feet tall, around 170 pounds, had shoulder-length brown hair with a faint mustache and beard, and had brown eyes. He was wearing a brownish-gray shirt, jeans with patches on the knees, and a black belt. He had type O blood. He had a hammer toe deformity on his right foot, most likely from wearing shoes that were too tight, a scar on his forehead, and a vaccination scar on his left shoulder and another on his left wrist. Police had no idea who this young man was, but when they asked around, he was supposedly seen in Wendover around 3 p.m. the day before his body was found. They did an examination on his body and then they laid him to rest in the Tooele City Cemetery, where his identity would not be known for another 39 years, almost 4 decades. In June of 2010, his unidentified persons report was entered into the National Missing and Unidentified Persons database, where details about him were released to the public in hopes that someone would be able to give him his name back. The case was reopened in 2014, and the Tooele County Police Department reached out to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and asked if they could work on a facial reconstruction photo of the unknown man using his mortuary photos. A photo was developed and displayed to the public, hoping that someone would come forward claiming to have known him. His cause of death was 2 gunshots to the head. This was not information originally released to the public. Now, when they reopened the case, they had high hopes that they were going to give this man his name back because it's current times and we have advanced so much in technology. In Utah, for almost 4 decades, they wondered who this man was, while a town in Connecticut, they were left wondering for almost 4 decades what happened to a New Milford High School graduate of 1975 who went missing after attempting to hitchhike from Colorado, where he was staying with his brother, to California and completely disappeared. In May of 2015, authorities announced to the public that there was a huge break in this case. This man who went missing from Connecticut, his dental records were very similar to the John Doe's. So they exhumed John Doe's body and they ran more tests, including a DNA test where they collected DNA from this man who went missing, his family, and they compared it to the DNA of John Doe's. DNA tests usually take around 6 to 8 months, but on August 11th, 2015, less than 3 months, the results were in. It was a match. Tooele County John Doe was 18-year-old David Arthur Stack, who left his brother's residence in Broomfield, Colorado on June 1st, 1976 to hitchhike to visit some relatives in California, but never made it. He was carrying no identification on him when he left his brother's house, and he was reported missing back in 1976, and there were 13 John Does ruled out at the time. David had 8 other siblings. Unfortunately, one of his siblings and both of his parents passed away before they ever found out what happened to him. His sister said that they always hoped for the best, and his brother said that they never stopped searching. I mean, they were left for years just wondering what happened to him. I mean, did he move away? Was he overseas? Did he get amnesia? This was a constant question of theirs. David loved rock concerts and having a good time. He was described as being a very outgoing, charismatic, free spirit. He absolutely loved meeting new people, and when he did, it was easy for him to make friends. They said that he was definitely the big star in the family. A man who graduated with one of the Stacks said that they considered homicide a possibility, but hitchhiking was common back then. It wasn't considered dangerous like it is in today's time. But of course, there was no social media or cell phones back then, so once somebody was out on the road, you really had no way to contact them. A New Milford resident who knew David's mother said, "I am heartbroken to hear that he was murdered. I was truly hoping and praying that they would find him alive. She claimed that his mother, Kathleen Gardner, always held hope that her son was out there and would come back one day. In his mother's obituary after she passed in 2011, it listed him as one of her surviving children. His siblings relocated his remains to New Milford in Connecticut, so he is finally at rest in his hometown. But this case is not completely closed. Somebody took this young man's life, and now police are trying to find that person. Sheriff Paul Wimmer of the Tooele County Police Department says, "Even though the identification has been made, we still have an unsolved homicide. We still have a lot of legwork. Currently, this case has 0 suspects, but if you know anything at all, if you have any tips, any leads, anything that could help police track down this person, you are urged to contact the Tooele County Police Department. You can stay anonymous." Now let's get into a tiny discussion about this case. I have quite a few opinions. This is by far one of the saddest cases that I have researched into when it comes to identified does, because this was a man who was doing something that a lot of people did back in the day, and most people didn't have this kind of cruel fate, and he was unfortunately one of the few that did. Both of his parents and a sibling passed away before they knew what happened to him, and his poor mother, I mean, her obituary is just, that is so sad that she listed him as one of her surviving children because she still believed that he was out there somewhere and would come back home. Also, you have to think about the fact that this was a young man who had just graduated high school the year before. I mean, he graduated in 1975 and this was 1976. He had his whole life ahead of him. He could choose to do whatever he wanted to in life. And one of the saddest things also is that his yearbook quote was, "The grass is always greener." Now, also from my research, he just seemed like an all-around amazing person. Like, he would have got along with anybody. So whoever picked him up or whoever he came in contact with who was responsible for his death, they had the intent to kill him. I don't think there was some sort of argument or disagreement. They knew that they were going to kill him when they saw him. There are a lot of people out there who think that he may have been a victim of a serial killer. And there's also a lot of people that think his death was also done execution style. If you don't know what execution style is, I hate having to even explain it. It's horrible, but it's basically where they tell the person to get on their knees on the ground and sometimes put their hands behind their head, sometimes not, and the person knows that they're going to die and they shoot them. Whoever did it most likely took him outside of a vehicle, because if they did it inside a vehicle, there would of course be evidence everywhere. Personally, the theory of his death being done execution style does make a lot of sense, because oftentimes they do shoot the person twice just to ensure that they are dead, which it's just horrible to even think about. It's terrifying to think that possibly the only person that saw the face of David Stack's killer was David Stack. I couldn't find anywhere online if they found anybody else's DNA on David Stack's body, but I can probably guarantee that whoever was responsible for his murder, that was not their only crime. If they ever found anybody else's DNA on him, they could probably run it through their database and find a match. Like I always say in these identified doe videos, when it comes to John and Jane Doe cases that are classified as homicides, there's always 2 steps to the case, and the first one is identifying them and the second one is finding out who was responsible for their murder. This case is definitely going to be very hard to solve, but I don't think it's impossible. I mean, this person who took his life may have confided in somebody else. That person may come forward to police. I mean, there may be a deathbed confession. It's definitely not impossible. Let me know what you think down below of this case and leave any other recommendations for video ideas. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you're not already. I love you guys so much, and we'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.